present our next award, I'd like to invite Chris Lynch up here, another recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Award from last year. And I told you then, what I will say now again, is that listening to Chris speak about leadership in a class that he spoke to, I took such copious notes. I still have them with me. Probably one of the most inspirational talks I've ever heard in my life. Again, brings back to life, to me, what these two recipients today represent, which is the nobility of business. So Chris, please come up here and reveal our next recipient of this award. There you are.
In business, we know timing is everything. So, Neely, if you want a bigger raise, you've got to give me that feedback about how hard you work before I submit 360 feedback to Jeff. Neely, staff, advisory council, and friends of Jayhawk Nation, it's terrific to be back in Lawrence. I was here last year several times. My son is in the audience, checking on him and working with the university on a couple of collaborative relationships. But it's really terrific to be able to introduce and recognize an extraordinary, iconic figure, the next distinguished guest. I will say, we've talked a little bit about this throughout the evening, but in my travels, there's really a buzz that is going on about this business school, a buzz in academic circles, and AIG collaborates with probably a dozen major universities around the country. And people are taking note of what's going on here. There is a vitality, there is a passion, there is a direction, and there is clarity. And it's being recognized by many of your competitors. And those in the business community recognize that the quality of the output that is coming from these hollowed hallways is extraordinary and is measuring up and exceeding many of our regional and national competitors. And I'd also say, even internationally, and Neely and I will begin a discussion, but over in Beijing about 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of interest about how they could form a collaborative relationship with this university in the business school at the graduate. And to transcend into the world over inside of China means that certainly a lot of incredible things are happening. Earlier this week, I have to admit I lost a loved one. And it really made me think about the iconic name and the iconic brand of the Hall family and everything that they've represented, not just to me, but to everyone in this room. Every birth, every graduation, every promotion, every moment of heartfelt appreciation, of mergers, divestitures, grief. Hallmark has always been there to help us celebrate the moment, to entertain us through their music, through their movie channels, their video content, to delight us. And it's extraordinary in today's environment when you read and travel, particularly on the East Coast, and see these family-held enterprises and how many of them almost automatically implode because of the dysfunctional nature of the relationships, the excesses of the personnel in that family, and to see this iconic Kansan-based organization thrive, and its leadership is very steadfast and it's very tightly controlled by the Hall family, is really, truly extraordinary. And you don't have to think of many firms in real estate, manufacturing, communications that have really, really struggled with family transitions and multi-generational leadership. And I think Don, being the third generation, covering a 90-year span, is truly extraordinary. And when you think, what would it mean to the KU community? What would it mean to the Kansas City metropolitan area? And what would it mean even nationally in the philanthropic area if one were to muse a simple question, what would the world be like without the mark of the Hall family? A pretty extraordinary contribution of almost a century. So please join me in welcoming Don Hall, President, CEO of Hallmark Cards.
Thanks, Big J. Chris, thank you very much. Words are very meaningful, very much appreciated. John, congratulations to you. Great recognition and very deserved, and I can't think of a better environment for you to recruit Laura to the University of Kansas than what you've staged for tonight. So if this doesn't seal the deal, I don't know what can. But I'm very, very flattered by this recognition and honored to be here. I'm joined by my wife, Jill. And as flattered as I am and honored by this recognition and know that the words that were said were ones that my mother would believe, know that my family will keep me very humble and they know the difference. So I won't have to worry about that. But Jill is a Jayhawker. She and I started dating when I was in my second year of grad school here at the university. And she, in a large part, deserves this recognition as much, if not more, than me. I'm also joined by my daughter, Helen. Helen is Helen is a graduate from Notre Dame, but she attended the Kansas School of Business and is our family's most devout, loyal Jayhawk fan. I was telling her earlier, Mike, that when she was born, the first team that she saw was you and your team, 1988. So, but she's been following it ever since. Our son Will isn't here tonight, but he followed Danny Manning to the University of Tulsa, and he's purportedly studying for finals tonight. But we have not given up hope of him someday being a Jayhawk, so there's always that possibility. I'm also joined by my family, my sister and her husband, my sister Margie and her husband Keith. They proudly have a son going to school at KU right now.
Purportedly studying for finals.
Yes, I'm sure he is. We won't talk about a decision their daughter made in marrying a Missouri Tiger, but we will keep that very quiet. She is. My brother Dave and his wife Laura are here. Dave is a graduate of the KU Law School. So you can see our family has many ties and allegiances to KU, which is one of the many reasons receiving this award means so much to us. And it's a particular pleasure receiving it from the business school at this stage. I think it's extraordinary what Neely and her team are doing here. As Chris pointed out, it's creating some real energy. And I think that makes the receiving this award that much more meaningful coming from this team. That impact is being felt in many ways. Mike Maddox today at our advisory board meeting mentioned that if you don't keep score, it's not fun. And I think it just underscores the importance of keeping score, and the U.S. News and World Report does keep score, and the Chancellor today acknowledged the fact that the KU Business School, the MBA program, has now reached the top 50 in the country, which is quite extraordinary, moving 40 places since their last review, which not only shows a tremendous accomplishment in its own right, and she was very quick to say that we're just beginning, but it also shows a great sense of direction. I also couldn't be more honored than to receive this award with John and to be following some of the many other people like Chris Lynch and Roger Davis, and on and on and on. It's a great group of people, and I'm very honored to be part of that group. I think if you asked any of the recipients of this award, I think we would all agree that It's really the KU that deserves the accolades that we're up here receiving. This institution has meant so much to us and to our lives, and I think it's only fitting to be reminded about the role that KU has played in our efforts and accomplishments. And I'm reminded of that every time I interact with KU grads, and several of them are here tonight, some from Hallmark, and I'm also reminded of it as I serve with the Chancellor on the Kansas City Civic Council, as I visit the School of Business, as I had the fortune to do today, as I serve on the Board of Advisors for the KU Edwards campus, and every time I read about KU and the accomplishments at this university and this group of students and alums are accomplishing. I personally have some wonderful memories of my time being here and my times, and I think this experience has given me an opportunity to be reminded of the experiences that I had here. As an economics and literature undergraduate, I came to KU and attended graduate school to add to my portfolio some very important tools such as accounting, statistics, organizational behavior, business law, finance, and marketing, so that I could prepare myself for the business world. And I was lucky to study finance under Professor Beatles, who's here. And I have always been very confident in my knowledge that he provided me and continue to use his principles of risk, return, and cost of capital in my decision-making daily. But I have to admit, I was recently put to the test when my daughter came home and asked me to help her with the calculation of a convertible preferred. And I thought that I could do that and found out she was correcting me in my calculations. Bill, I'm very quick to point out this is no reflection on Professor Beatles. This is purely an acknowledgement that I need to come back for a refresher. But I always enjoyed going to his classes. He made them fun. It was truly exciting for me to learn the wonderful narrative that's contained in a P&L. One of my most memorable class moments at KU was in statistics, which, by the way, was not a class I would describe as being fun. I remember one day when my professor filled the chalkboards with seemingly endless equation, trying to show us how you could use statistics in your normal life. And he kept talking about alpha alpha and showing this impressive formula with a long array of Greek letters, never showing two alphas together. We were all very confused, but finally when the end of the class buzzer sounded, one student dared to ask, "Where is the alpha alpha in the equation?" And the professor was completely dumbfounded by the question and said, "You don't know what alpha alpha is?" And we were all perplexed and said no. And he said, "Well, that's what cows eat." Well, I couldn't possibly reconstruct that formula, and I assure you I've never used that formula in life. But what I remember most about that class is the importance of asking questions, the importance of listening. And it's amazing how much more you learn when you ask questions and you listen carefully. And that has always stuck with me. Well, I was absolutely fascinated by marketing. Parker Lessig opened up a whole new world to me. And Parker and I had a great conversation earlier tonight. And to this day, I still will click down through the 4 Ps every time I see a business plan presented. But even more importantly than this particular construct of working with the 4 Ps of marketing, Parker demonstrated in his teaching messages the power of being able to provide very succinct, clear messages. And from that class, I came to understand that while people often think there's brilliance in complexity, in business, real brilliance comes from simplification and focus. One of my most transformational classes had to do with a course on corporate social responsibility, which I took from Professor Maya Dalton. Renate made us think about the broader purpose a business serves, the importance culture plays in the success of an enterprise, the value of diversity, and the importance of values. She helped us see that doing good is part of the equation of doing well. And then there was my study group, a random collection of people who didn't know each other and came from very different experiences and backgrounds. We all had this class that revolved around a business simulation where you would make decisions, you would input your decisions, and it would reconstruct the competitive marketplace, and you would shortly find out whether your business was making progress or not, and whether it failed or not. I remember feeling how frustrated that experience was. The process was incredibly stressful because when you thought you understood the market, the competitors changed their decision making. When you thought you understood consumer behaviors, all of those changed. And then every once in a while, the professor would throw in some strange governmental regulation. And it was just absolute chaos. And all of us who were taught to try to really think through problems and apply the tools that we were armed with found it was extremely exhausting. But what I remember is that just when we wanted the whole thing to slow down and stop, which I think we all know in business is not reality, we began to realize that that really was the lesson in this class, that the market is unpredictable, the consumer is dynamic, and the world doesn't sit by as you evaluate options. Once my study group understood and accepted the fact that you would not be able to make perfectly correct decisions each time frame, but that business was a process that was iterative and ongoing and learning, we began to embrace change itself, and we started to have fun. We found how we could start winning through the work that we were doing and appreciate the value of the diverse perspectives that our group brought to bear. And before long, we started to really have fun with each other. Well, I learned so much when I was here and have such wonderful memories. Certainly the skills that I came to the Kansas City School of Business have been ones that indeed have been very useful to me throughout my life. But far more important than the skills that I took away from the curriculum have been the principles that you imparted on me that have really been very important in my life. The principles by which to weigh options, make choices, and evaluate results. The courage to question, to be courageous, and to listen. The importance of simplifying complexity and knowing what to focus on. The imperative to accept and embrace change. The joy that comes from passionately working hard and growing. And the value of being part of a team, a business, a community, with people who share a passionate belief in similar values and who truly want to make a difference in life. So I want to thank you for this nice recognition, for providing me the opportunity to reflect on some of the things that KU meant so much to me, but most importantly, for being able to say thank you and to be able to share in the great pride of being part of the KU community. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I let you all sit down so you can stand up again in a moment. Sit down. I've taken away many, many lessons from the presentations today. Two amazing testimonials to the school. You honor us by accepting this award. I mean it. I know that this is not a line on your resumes. This is an opportunity for me to show young people that they too could one day be here accepting this award. That these were just kids that, like them, took through class, sat through class, and sometimes maybe did not. But it really, you truly honor us by being here and by accepting this award. The second thing I took away is that I need to charge all of you finder's fees. You found your spouses here, so it'll be an extra before you leave. I learned some good business here too. But in all honesty, I have one request. I don't need anybody to rush away. Enjoy each other's company. But of course, we have to sing the alma mater so that you cannot leave without it. And to do that, what I'm going to do is invite two people up here. My board chair, Mike Maddox, Vice Chair Diane Yetter. But don't worry, I wouldn't trust just the two of them, and all the previous winners of the Distinguished Alumni Award. Please come on up here. Come on.